Hello there, my friends. It's your buddy Phil here, project management trainer and coach. I hope you're doing awesome. I got some questions from one of our students, Melanie, that I want to answer. So, Melanie, you sent in a question. It states, help me with the relation between matrix organization, strong, balanced, weak, and projectized, and the functional organization. That is table 2-1 and page 47 of the 6th edition of the PMP Guide. Let's take a look at that, page 47. Okay. So this table, so the relation between the matrix organization and the functional organization. There's no relation per se. They're different organization types. So if you look at the table, functional is centralized. People pretty much report in silos. So they report to one manager. It says the job being done is really what they're broken down by: engineering, manufacturing, so on and so forth. And then if you take a look at matrix, you can see it could be broken down by job function with a project manager as a function. So that is matrix, strong matrix that is. You can see weak is broken down by job function and also balanced. So in the matrix, the strong matrix, you can see that the job function is really project management focused, or project focused, if you will. And just looking at the project manager's authority in the functional, it's little or none. In the matrix, it's moderate to high. So yeah, the answer is no correlation per se. There's no relationship. They're just different organizations. In the functional organization, the project manager's role could be part-time. It says may or may not be a designated job role. It could be non-existent. It could be, oh, we have a coordinator, but we don't have a project manager. Whereas in the strong, you can see you got a project manager full-time. You can see in the weak, it says part-time, done as part of another job and not a designated job role. So you could have, extremes. You could have someone doing part-time or no one in the role. And it also says not a designated job role like coordinator. So you could have someone just coordinating again. And then matrix, in the balance, it says part-time embedded in the functions as a skill and may not be a designated job role like coordinator. So you could have, again, coordinators all through. You could have coordinator in weak, balanced, and functional, but in the strong, you see that project management is a full-time designated job role. So that's pretty much it. You said on the exam, deciphering. Okay. Well, the bottom line is understanding who reports to whom in which organization. So the project manager has people reporting to him or her. Functional organization, that is not the case. Matrix balanced, yeah, you've got someone reporting to both a project manager and a functional manager. See, so it could be that you've got the balanced clause kind of mixed up with the strong. Maybe that's what's going on. But in balance, you could have two managers. It's just that the balance of power may lie more with one than the other. Okay. So thought you took into the exam was if the PM has to get approval from the functional manager, then it is a weak matrix. Not necessarily. And we're not talking about approval. If the PM consults, oh, I see what you mean. Okay, if the PM consults with the functional manager, then it is a balanced matrix. So we have to be careful with words like get approval from and consult with, because you just have to read the entire question in context. But it's really about understanding who the balance of power. And you might have gotten in there and experienced questions, which you did well on. You don't know. So your ideas are largely right, but I would be careful when I say approval versus consult, because there could be subtle nuances in the question. You would have to weigh the entire question to choose the best answer. Okay, so that the language is not entirely robotic. in some of these questions, the language could be very situational, depending on a lot of factors. All right, the next one here, I need insight relating to the tailoring process. So the 80-20 rule is my own thing. It's my own little spin, you know. Of course, I didn't create the rule, but how I adapt the rule to my projects and my tailoring is really what I'm talking about. So the way I apply the 80-20 principle is 20% of the processes give me an 80% payoff. In other words, I need to selectively, carefully choose the key 20% from the 49 processes. Same thing for anything you're doing. What is the, what are the most important few compared to everything else? So that is what I would have in mind. If I were you, tailoring in the real world, I would look for those that give me the greatest return. Not just in the firm, but on that specific project. That's what I would do. All right, the question 3. The formula to calculate the number of communication channels is n times n minus 1 divided by 2. Is there ever a time when a PM will not minus 1? The minus 1 represents the PM, correct? That is not entirely true because the PM is part of the channels. So that is not true. N times n minus 1 is actually a statistical thing. So you're not removing yourself when you say minus 1. You're just making the permutations and the combinations mathematically sensible for you to manipulate, the information to get the answer. So n times n minus 1 does not mean taking yourself out. That is not correct. It's like the probability and permutations and combinations. Remember, that's like the formula for it. Not the whole formula, but the n times n minus 1 is the formula for it. So in that context, I'm not sure who said that or who gave that impression, but that is not true. I was trying to find the references to the n times n minus 1 formula. And n times n minus 1 divided by 2 is not just used, of course, in communications. There are many other uses of it. So anyway, it's part of making it mathematically sound for use. That's really what it is. Okay, let's go back to your next question. Next question. States PM plan, subsidiary plan. I want to nail this in my mind. Here's my attempt to express the way I see the subsidiary plans. Individual plans are grouped in the planning process group, and key high-level information from the respective plans are incorporated in the centralized project management plan. That may or may not be the case in some companies. In some companies, like one I was in, it's a straight, all right, here's your schedule baseline, boom, there you go, that you're part of the plan. Here is your scope baseline, bam, you're part of the plan. And then you've got this big old document that has everything that is a plan exactly as it was created. So there's no hard and fast rule about what makes your project management plan. It could be pieces of the subsidiary plans, or it could be all of them. I like to think about it as all of the plan. So I would like to think about them as all of the plan in it. In the real world, it might be different in some firms, okay? And then you went further to say, any project work performance data that is transformed to work performance information, which triggers updates to subsidiary plans, will be updated. Not necessarily. So they are not updated through PIC. They are reviewed through PICC, right? And as a result of PICC, you will eventually get updates to those plans, but you don't update those plans in PICC. Those plans are actually updated, or I should say the project management plan as a whole theoretically is updated by you carrying out direct and managed project work. Let me open up the page to show you. This is all, it's pretty theoretical, and I don't think it's a massive showstopper, but it is good to know it. So let me just show you where to get it in the guide. So if you go to 4.3 and you take a look at the outputs, one of the outputs that you see is project management plan updates. It says any change to the project management plan go through the organizational change control process via change request. Any component of the project management plan may require a change request as a result of this process. So you can see page 97. So theoretically speaking, you don't do this in perform integrated change control. It goes through perform integrated change control, but that is not where the change is effected. If you go to page 83, let's read outputs from other processes. It says outputs from many of the other processes described in sections 5 through 13 are integrated to create the project management plan. Subsidiary plans and baselines that are an output from other planning processes are inputs to this process. Watch this. In addition, changes to these documents may necessitate updates to the project management plan. So as you are updating these tiny little subsidiary plans as a result of what you are doing in direct and managed project work, theoretically speaking, this stuff gets updated. Okay? Now, one more step to understand this is going back to 4.3 and taking a look at approved change requests on page 93. It says, approved change requests are an output of performing a great change control process and include those requests reviewed and approved for implementation by the project manager or the CCB when applicable. The approved change request may be a corrective action, a preventive action, or a defect repair. Approved change requests are scheduled and implemented by the project team and can impact any area of the project or the project management plan. So if approved change requests are going to affect the project management plan, then they need to be an input for wherever you're going to update them, for wherever you would update them. It says the approved change request can also modify the formally controlled project management plan components or project documents. So theoretically speaking, your ACR is going to be used in the context of carrying out a change within this context. That's why it's an integration, and that will update everything. Whatever it is, it gets updated. So that's the way I see it. ACRs come into direct and managed project work. You update the various pieces, whatever they may be, and then those become inputs to develop project management plan by way of outputs from other processes. Okay, so that is the way you can think it through. All right, and the last question is there a strategy to answer risk questions on the exam? So risk questions on the exam, you need to know what you're doing in each of the strategies. But I will answer that in another video. So thank you very much for your questions, and watch out for my next video. All right, bye for now.